Hello, good morning. This is Sivadevaki from MassMailer. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the new features that we added in 2022 release. It's almost towards the end of the year, but finally we decided to make sure that we have all the new features been running for the existing clients and the new clients. We are definitely excited to showcase some of the new features, even though those are, been long pending. I hope to demonstrate some of these features, but again, I will be scheduling a few more webinar series events in the upcoming weeks. That way, we can actually go through in detail for a few features, which would take more time. When it comes to MassMailer setup, as you all know, it's a configuration thing, and it also involves a lot of functionality when it comes to outreach wizard features that you would see, especially when it comes to emailing. CC and BCC, we have enhanced this feature. If you remember, we never used to have the default CC and default BCC email. We added that. And also CC email was just limited to a specific email address, but we also extended that so you can actually CC on every single email or one email. And also you could select the default CC and BCC email field for any specific object. So there are kind of a few enhancements that we made. I'll just showcase the UI for today for this one. May not be able to just go through the entire flow, but we'll do our best whatever we can. And then bot event purge feature has been there in the current release, but we kind of enhanced it in the new release where you can actually enter your own hidden page URL, meaning you can create anything as the hidden page URL and then add it to the email template. And also, you have an option to select how far you can go from the delivered event to identify and then delete the bot events. That option is also available. So basically, some settings are available for the bot event purge URL, which was not there before. So that's good news. And then common sender and the custom sender, we enabled the default options as well. So previously, there was no option to say, hey, this is my default value, especially for common sender, and also custom sender. So we have had this request coming in many times. So we added that feature in which you can actually have the default common sender and default custom sender as well. And then MassMailer guest user license, as you know, it's mandatory for the app to function. So we added a button so that it makes it easy when you're trying to configure MassMailer initially, even though it's not anything that you're going to use it ongoing. It's just a one-time setup that you do always. So we just added a button that would be convenient to add the license to the guest user. Typically, it's all done by our team internally. When we onboard any client, we actually take care of that as a setup step for us. But we still want to kind of like keep it there for the users. If at all someone wants to actually configure MassMailer their own. Okay. And then we added the manual bot event purge feature as well. Again, this has been there, but we kind of enhanced it a little bit. So you can select the time lapse up to 2 minutes. That's kind of an enhancement with the current, on top of the current feature that we already have. And we added the license types, the user license types. So now you can actually select the editor-only user, partner community user, customer community user as well. Previously, we had only the full access, admin, and the read-only. but now we added these 3 as well. That way you can differentiate between various types of license that you have. And it will have the respective permission set automatically assigned. So there's nothing else that you need to do. So let's say you purchase editor-only license for some of the users. All you need to do is select that particular user, assign the type of the license. So we added usage in the subscription details page. Again, it's part of MassMailer setup page. Currently, you do have the usage details, but we enhanced it so that you can actually look at the email verified credits as well. And also, we made it easy for you to look at what MassMailer version you have and the number of licenses purchased and used. All of those details would be available the usage and subscription details page of MassMailer setup. We added the Visualforce template support, but I just want to highlight that perhaps not many customers would be knowing this. So I thought maybe I would mention that. Even though it's not a new feature in the new release, we just added it recently. So basically, we started supporting Visualforce templates, but it's a little tricky. So you got to be very careful on how you're actually going to design and pass in whatever the parameter values to the template. We do provide professional services. You may need help if you're not familiar on how to deal with the Visualforce templates. And the reason why we actually supported this because previously, there was no way you could actually bring in the data from the related objects when it comes to the child record. So if an example, you wanted the data from contacts when you sent out emails from account, so you won't be able to get that. That's one example. So because the child objects, contacts are the child object for account. Now with the Visualforce template logic, you can actually build that custom logic of your own and put the data in a tabular format if needed. And then you can use that Visualforce template in MassMailer. So I've done a webinar before on this. And again, I thought maybe I would mention that. Any questions, of course, if you need any help or anything like that, we have professional services team that can help you. And then test email, send test email feature, we enhanced it a little bit, and it's actually undergoing one more change, with the feedback that we got from other clients. So previously, there was no way you would be able to add the unsubscribe link in the test emails, but we had to do that just because people were unsubscribing during the test and they didn't know how to resubscribe. So we deliberately removed it. But many clients have actually asked, hey, we actually want to see how it renders. Otherwise, we don't know. So we decided to add it back. Again, as I said, it's undergoing some more changes based on the feedback that we received. So at a high level, if you're sending non-transactional email, you will be able to test that unsubscribe link when you're doing a send test. And if you're sending a transactional email, and obviously you would not be able to add the unsubscribe link even in the send test. So that change we are making because there's a little bit of user experience issues that we figured out, but it's all getting done very quickly, and this feature is available right now. And then the select template step in the outreach wizard was little, I would say, not user-friendly, just because of the fact that the multiple options in the drop-down and people were getting confused. Hey, what option should I choose? Once they get trained, they're okay. But initially, somebody starts using the app, they always have a question. Hey, what option should I use here? So we wanted to make it easy for the users so that it's it doesn't need much training there. So you would see that in the outreach wizard, especially if you're on the new release. And I forgot to mention that the new release it's 2.50. That's still not available for existing MassMailer clients, just because we always would like to give it a month at least before we launch it to the existing clients. You're free to use in Sandbox once we have official release notes published. So we're going to announce it soon, the Sandbox preview for existing clients. For the new clients, it's open. That's not a problem. So if you're a brand new client and if you want to test out MassMailer, it's available because you're starting fresh. But if you're an existing user, we request you to just test it only in Sandbox. Make sure that it's all working fine as per your expectation before you actually move it to production. So very soon we're gonna make an announcement about the Sandbox preview for the existing clients. That would be most likely next week. Talking about the statistics, we have added replied and not replied the statistics as well. So that way you can actually find out who replied and not replied, and then upload and download whatever you needed. Again, this reply event needs additional setup, and we don't encourage everyone to use it unless your business mandates or you really think that you want to capture the reply, because there's additional setup configuration required. Also, when you're sending an email campaign, you have to follow a specific process on how you're going to enter the from email address and the reply to email address. Again, all of that has been described in another webinar session. Not that we are trying to discourage this, but if you really need reply event to be captured in MassMailer, we can help you. And we are making a few more changes there for this feature. So otherwise, it's all good. So basically, bottom line is we added the replied and not replied statistics as well in Outreach. And some of the email features, long pending, very popular, many clients have asked for this. Finally, we're able to make it happen. That is dynamic email content feature. Apologies, the note that I mentioned below the dynamic email content is actually wrong. I think it's a copy paste mistake. Sorry for that. So I'll explain what it means. So if you are sending an email to certain recipients, and then you don't want to show certain rows, for some of the users, you can actually dynamically control the rows that are getting displayed for the target recipient. Partially it is correct what I mentioned, but it didn't have to say merge fields and all of that. So what it means, the content, the email content that will be received by the end recipient would look different based on certain properties on that particular record. For example, you're a university and you're sending out email to students that have opted, say, physics versus computer science. And if you needed to display the specific information for those people who opted for physics versus computer science, and it could be different, provided that particular information on what program they opted in, from the record of that particular student, you can turn it off, turn it on, like certain rows, or maybe conditionally display a specific row based on that piece of information that you get it from that record. So that's what it means, the dynamic email content. And I mentioned merge field. It doesn't mean that it's a merge field. It's basically a property on that particular record is what is going to decide what portion of the email content the recipient will be able to see. That's called dynamic email content feature. I'm planning to do a webinar only on this topic, upcoming webinar series. And then again, long pending request from client, single send, meaning like right now we do have a quick send option from the record itself, meaning like if you go to a contact record, you can actually send a single email today. That's called quick send, but that's still like, it'll take you to a different page and a bunch of options. It's still advanced. So we wanted, a lot of clients actually wanted it to be very concise, the way you have it on Salesforce. So Salesforce also has a feature through which you can actually quickly send an email by going to a specific record, type in the email, and then boom, send, right? So we have something similar, but we obviously needed to add a little bit more because we have features like transactional, non-transactional, IP pool, attachment, and a few other things. So it is simple enough. It just fits in a single component, so you can just drag and drop that component onto the page layout. And then you can just type in an email and send it if it's not too complicated. But if you needed to select an IP pool or transactional versus non-transactional, that feature is available because we feel it's essential to have that there. So again, I plan to schedule a separate webinar just for this feature because it's very important. So just wait for the future webinar series. And then MassMailer docs, I did talk about this before. We enhanced it a bit with all the style sheet and everything. So it looks like any other MassMailer page. This is a document management feature ground up, way in which you can actually store documents in Salesforce using MassMailer docs, the subproduct that we have. You can associate documents with any object, where it's a standard or a custom object. And all these files are secured in Rackspace. So this feature would be available only for those users who would want it. It's not open for everyone. There's going to be an additional cost for this feature though. But we will let you purchase Rackspace your own. We'll provide instructions on how to purchase that. And you can store it and you maintain the documents your own. No one else will have access to it, meaning like we will never have access to anything. So it's all secure, confidential. So you will manage your own Rackspace account. But in the front end, using MassMailer docs, you can manage those documents in Salesforce. That way, advantage is that you are not using Salesforce file storage space, which is quite expensive. This is relatively very inexpensive Rackspace when it comes to the storage. And on top of it, you have a native document management functionality. And again, people may ask, hey, we have Salesforce content, we can use it. That's fine. Salesforce content has its own advantages. But if you ever needed a little bit more sophisticated document management system, I think MassMailer docs would definitely handle. MassMailer list views has a little bit of an advanced feature that we added. It may sound confusing how much ever I explain unless I actually demo this. Again, this is going to be a separate webinar topic. So at a high level, if you are familiar with MassMailer list view, you know that you can apply the filters on the current object and the child object as well. But if you wanted to actually apply, should I call subfilter maybe on the child record? For an example, you have an account and then contacts, right? Contacts being the child records and account being the parent record. And then if you may maintain a type of a contact, for an example, maybe, a type of a contact could be primary contact versus whatever, right? Some filter criteria that you may have. So with this advanced feature that we have, You can apply the filters on the child contact records as well. And then that becomes your subset. On top of it, you apply the filters on the parent object. It works a little different. I know it may be confusing unless I actually demonstrate both in one of the webinars, but just take it easy. Just assume that MassMailer list views has an advanced feature now. We can apply the dynamic, I call it as a dynamic filter on the child object as well. That is, again, long pending requested feature, and now it's available. And finally, MassMailer dashboard is available. It's undergoing some more changes there. Again, we definitely need the feedback from clients. We are happy to, update based on the feedback that we receive. At least we have the component that's added to MassMailer. And this is again available in the new release only. And then I'm assuming that this is going to go through some changes based on the feedback what we receive from the clients. We just added whatever we could think of, but I'm sure the feedback given by you would be very valuable. I think that's pretty much it about all the new features. I'm actually going to go through maybe a quick overview on the MassMailer setup. And I'll just show you what changed here. And again, as I said, I'm going to schedule a few more webinar events to go through some of the detailed features. So the usage and subscription, you would be able to see the verified credits as well. That's a good thing. And you can also enable the notification email, daily notification email. That's possible. This will actually go through more changes because we want to give granular control here on who can receive and how to control all of that. So, but at least we have a way to alert you every day. And then yeah, and the subscription, like the MassMailer version, what version you are in, and how many licenses have been allocated, and all of that information can be just obtained from here. I believe there's a refresh button that's missing. So otherwise, there is a refresh button that you would see through which you can actually update the usage information right when you're actually looking at it. So otherwise, this typically gets refreshed every night. And then alerts is the same. So we change there. And then here is where the bot event suppression settings are available. So you can enable bot event suppression and then bot event tracking URL as well. This can be changed to whatever URL that you needed to that you want to have. And then we're going to auto add this to the email templates. So whenever you enable this feature, provided you have a URL here. And then this is basically how far you can go from the deliver to identify the bot events and then delete them automatically. So we've given up to 240. Otherwise, you can increment this, change it to whatever. We recommend at least like 2 minutes. Up to 2 minutes you should go. If not, up to 240 is, I think, is the maximum that you can go seconds, which is 4 minutes. Okay. And then here. We added the default values, as you can see. The common sender, we added the default values, and the custom sender, you can actually select the common sender and then make it as a default, and then custom sender also you can select and then make it as a default. And I forgot to mention the logged in user. We did make a change here. By default, we display the actual the from name and the from address and reply to. That's a standard field from the logged in user. now you have an option to change it to any other field. For an example, if you maintain, MassMailer, I'm just doing an example. Let's say you have a custom email field on the user object, which is what you actually want to use for sending out emails. Now you should be able to select that particular field for the logged in user. And that's what we're going to use. So that's kind of an additional change that we made for the logged in user. And then CC settings, this is a big change. So as you can see, you have an option to do CC. All the default values can be selected as well. And for specific object, what kind of email field that you're gonna have as a CC, that is also enabled here. And BCC, the same thing. You have an option to set up all the defaults, and you can also select the specific email field that you're going to use for the BCC. And I plan to do a separate webinar going in detail and showing end-to-end flow on how the CC and BCC works. So, you can wait for the upcoming webinar for that. And then after this, so we changed the name. It used to be called inbound parse. Now it is called reply settings. Only the name change, there's no other change otherwise. And, IP pools, it's fine. And we are making some more change here. Our default IP pool that's coming very soon. And then tools. So this is where we added the change. The manual purge is available. You can select the date and events and the time and all of that. The manual hot purge feature is available. And then, yeah, this is where the license types, you would be able to see that there are more license types available. And then assign license to MassMailer guest user is also available, that button. And no more change here for the UI settings. Yeah, nothing changed here. No change here. That's it. After that, it's finished. So those are the changes that we made on the setup. And then rest of it, the quick send, maybe, again, I'll just show you how it looks. Sorry, simple send, not quick send. So this is a component, again, for lack of space, it's not looking nice though. So this is what, simple send would be. You can change the name, that's not a problem. It just looks as if it's, one page, as I mentioned. This would have looked better if I added it on the left-hand side. But any case, so as you can see, you have an option to do to BCC, enter the email subject, and then you can also select what email field that you're actually sending to. That's an advanced feature that we added. And you can also select the IP pool. You can say whether it is a transactional or not. You can also send now or schedule later. And then you have an option to add an attachment as well. And you have an option to add the merge fields. So all of that is right here, in one page. Very simple to send an email to anyone with the power of MassMailer, because these are all like very MassMailer specific, as you know. You don't get these features in standard Salesforce. And again, I'm gonna schedule another webinar to demonstrate this end to end. And I'll also show you how to do this on leads and contacts and custom objects. Any object that's enabled in Salesforce, you should be able to use this feature. So this is completely different from QuickSend. QuickSend is, again, one page email send option, but that's, much more advanced and, obviously, If you needed advanced features, then you would go to the quick send. Otherwise, you would just stick to the standard, the simple send that we just recently implemented. Okay. Then let's just show the outreach. Okay. So here you would see reply and not reply. So these two are added, provided you actually do the reply settings. That's only these two events will only be available if you're using the reply event settings. If anyone needs that, we can always help. We don't generally set it up by default, but if you need it, definitely we can help you. And then when it comes to the template selection in the outreach, I'll just quickly demonstrate how it looks. Again, I plan to do separate webinar for all these things. That way I can go through in detail. So let's say, so as you can see, so you have three options here: select template, select base template, create template. That way it's easy. If somebody want to actually select a template from a folder, you have an option for that. And if you wanted to select a base template, that's also available. Or if you actually want to create a template from scratch, you have an option to do that. So that way it's easy for the user to understand what they want to do. Most of the times people are using select template, and some clients use base template a lot. They have an option to use a base template right here. So that makes it easy for people to understand. So that's another change that we made. And I'm sure you must have noticed this template here, and we recently rolled this out. So by default, it just shows template A because you've not enabled template. A/B testing. If you enable that, you would see template A and template B. So that's an option. So that's pretty much it, I guess. And again, I'm happy to clarify any questions you have. Otherwise, you can expect a few more webinars on all these new features that we implemented and rolled it out. You can also expect release notes sometime soon. And then happy to help you if you needed any guidance on setting it up in Sandbox, provided you have a Sandbox plan. If you do not have a Sandbox plan on your account, please don't install it, just because it's going to mess up your production instance. So if you're not familiar with that, please look at the webinar topic on the Sandbox, or else you can just send us an email, support@massmailer.io, if you have any confusion on that. Otherwise, any questions I can clarify? Okay. Seems like no questions today.
Hey, so a quick question. This is Kale.
Oh yeah. Hi, Kale.
Would you? So these are all the updates that will be happening in 2022, or do you have a list of updates, upcoming updates that you can send it over? That's gonna come up in next year.
Oh, the roadmap. So
yeah, the roadmaps.
Roadmap, we typically don't announce it just because it's it's a little confidential as well. So we don't announce the roadmap, but if required, we can always talk through it. But it's not a public document that we have it anywhere, the roadmap.
Okay, it's just we need to gauge an idea like how many requests that we have made are going to be available within 1 year.
Sure.
Or it's gonna take longer. That's why. Okay, we can have a separate.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's more like a one-off request. So we typically, like, let's say you are, I know we discussed about the approval workflow approval that's already added to the roadmap for the next release. So we basically make it as a private conversation with any of the clients. Whatever request that they have, we let them know, hey, it's coming and it's in the roadmap. But it's not a public document that we have it public. I mean, it's not a public roadmap that we announce as such.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Once again, thank you so much for joining the webinar today. This is a weekly webinar every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific. If you're new to MassMailer, feel free to install a trial. We're happy to help. And here is my contact info if you needed any further information about MassMailer, or you can also send us an email to the company email address as well, or drop in a note on our website. Once again, thank you so much. And this video will be published onto our YouTube channel. And if you have not subscribed, I strongly recommend that you go to YouTube and search for MassMailer, subscribe, very easy. And you will also receive an email with this video if you are part of our email list. And you will also come to know what is the upcoming webinar as we can announce it via the email and also social channels. So again, thank you so much for joining our webinar today. Have a great day. Have a great day.